I'm Tim Bechtold. I'm the location sound guy and post sound designer for ForLazyGuys.com. And I've only really been doing this for a couple of years, so I'm more the amateur in this scenario, whereas Frank has been doing this for a lot longer than I have.
That's why it takes me longer to put the mic on.
I had a feeling.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you hear me? Is that good? Not too loud? Sounds good? Okay, my name is Frank Forth, and I've been doing sound for about 20 years. I've worked on Good Morning America, Today Show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Mysteries at the Museum. I've worked the Academy Awards. I've worked Dancing with the Stars, and talking about Academy Awards, I got to work on an Academy Award nominated documentary called Last Days in Vietnam with Rory Kennedy. So that was pretty cool. I can say I was almost at an Oscar thing with it, almost winning an Oscar, almost. So let's see, I just spewed out a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper yesterday, so hopefully there's something intelligent here. I bet many of you are planning for the 48-hour thinking of a great script, wonderful actors, and fabulous visuals. But what about sound? I mean, sound is like the lost child. It's the last thing that anybody ever thinks about. And it's the thing that's really the most important, because if they can't hear what your actors are saying, what are you going to do? Hand out a script to everybody in the audience? You can't do that. So you've seen a lot of wonderful information about how to fix sound. Our job is to get the sound as clean as possible so that you don't have to fix it in post.
Yeah. It's better to get it.
Okay, that was it, thanks. No, there are two ways of getting the sound that we use. And when I say sound, I'm talking about dialogue, because the dialogue is what pushes your story. So we want to get the dialogue as clean as possible. So the first thing is location. You walk into a location, you know it's going to be the perfect place for your shots. But is there air conditioning? Is there a compressor somewhere? Are there gardeners outside? Are there garbage trucks? Are you near a highway? Is there traffic? There's so many little considerations, and as Christine said, the brain has this wonderful capacity to just eliminate every sound it's not concentrating on. So you want your audience to concentrate on the voices. The microphone doesn't concentrate on anything. It picks up every noise. So I'm standing here, right here, I hear a noise from the fan here, a little bit of air conditioning, a little bit of ringing on the speakers. How would I fix those? How would I eliminate those? One of the easiest ways of eliminating bounce, reverberation in a room is what will kill your voices a lot of time. And bounce just comes from hard surfaces. We have a hard floor, hard walls. If it was a lower ceiling, and they don't bounce in a linear fashion. They kind of bounce all over, so the mic picks up a sound, from the voice, and it picks up another sound from the wall, and a little one here, a little one there, a little one there. You want to eliminate those extraneous sounds coming in, so go to U-Haul and buy a $20 moving pad. Put it on a C-stand. Put it right next to your actor, right out of frame. Put another one over here. Put one on the floor. Nobody will ever see it in the shot. but you've just eliminated like 3 of the bounce points.
And if you only have one sound blanket, like say you had it on the other side of Frank here, you would want to point your boom from this side toward the sound blanket if you only had one. I don't know, if you have a bunch, you can do whatever.
So that's your location. So you try everything to do to make that location as quiet as possible. Does anybody have any examples of places you've been, or telephones, unplug telephones, you know, turn off air conditioners, unplug refrigerators. Fish tanks, exactly. But one of the Soundman secrets is, especially with refrigerators, I've never done it with a fish tank before, but you take your car keys and you put them in the refrigerator. Because at the end of the day, you're really tired, you leave, and the next day you get a call, you've spoiled all the food in my refrigerator. But if you put your car keys there, you can't leave until, oh yeah, I have to plug that back in. There are 2 ways we capture sound. We capture sounds with lavalier mics and with boom mics. How many people here use lavaliers? And how many channels are you normally, how many actors are 2? 2? 2 to 5? I have the high-end equipment. I have the Sound Devices mixer recorder that not only records the 2 channels that will go directly to camera, but it also ISOs up to 6 more channels, I think. So when Mike is editing, he can go in and choose just that one voice, just that one actor, and do all of his stuff. And that's the beauty of lavs. But lavs are a pain in the butt. You've got to know exactly how to get that lavalier in the right spot. And there are a lot of different tricks that I've learned over 20 years, some that I'll share. Tim and I will both share here.
He's got more than I do.
I use these things, Dr. Scholl's bunion pads. These are wonderful because you can use moleskin, and these are just a shortcut. And what I do is I cut these in half, and I will take a microphone and place it right within this sticky area right here, and then place that inside the clothing. There, now your mic is hidden. This moleskin is keeping the materials from rubbing together and making noise. They're very, very sticky, so they'll stay on, you know, most of the day, if not all the day. And they're great for perspiration. You know, I've put them on people who are building houses, and they're just totally soaked, but they've stayed on. Really helps. But when you're doing the 48, please, producers, choose your wardrobes carefully. Because Tim and I were talking, you know, you get somebody with a hairy chest and a leather jacket and maybe a silk scarf, and everything is rubbing and making noise. And trying, you know, Christine had that wonderful necklace on. Looked beautiful, but it was going clank, 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 clank. So you have to worry about all the little things that the actors have on.
So it's good to have, like if you can, have your sound guy be there while they're deciding costumes if he has nothing else to do. Because then you can figure out the best way to lav the actor or actress, and then also if they're going to have any problems with the clothing noise.
Another thing with the lavaliers, there's a sound bubble where the sound comes from. It comes from the sinuses, comes from the voice, comes from the You know, from the head here down to the chest, there's like a bubble of sound. And your mic needs to be within that area. So somebody who's wearing glasses, you can actually take a lav and put it right there on the frame of the glasses. When they turn the head, the mic turns with them. So it will be constant sound. So that's a great place. If somebody's wearing a ball cap, you can tape it right to the ball cap. For a lot of theatrical presentations, use the microphones that hang right down here. Well, you can do the same thing with the 48. You can put a microphone actually in the hair. And there's something called tips and streaks, streaks and tips or something, that you can actually paint the microphones. Don't try and paint the little, you know, the capsule itself, yeah. But just the other areas where it kind of hides it. So if you have a tan microphone, blondes, if you've got a black microphone, anybody with dark hair, you can put it up here. You can actually put it under the earlobe. You can put it over the ear. So depending on who is speaking, and you know, if we're both talking like this, you're not going to see this side. So any other tips or tricks on lavs? Or?
Well, I also have these. I have a little couple baggies of moleskin also. I have the thicker moleskin for like really ruffly clothes, or if they're wearing layers, and then thinner moleskin if they're wearing like a t-shirt. It's not going to cause too many problems. And then since I use the Rode lavs, I also got this little, it's a little piece of silicone. They call it the Invisilav. You stick your mic right in there and put some like double-sided tape on the other side, stick it under the shirt, and it just stays there.
Is that like one of those, almost like an ear, I can't see it in here, like almost like an earplug, a silicone earplug type thing that's moldable? Is that what you're
It's not moldable, but it's like it can stretch out if you put like a thicker lav. Like it can fit a little more than just the Rode lav. It also fits Senkins. You saying it might fit?
Yes, Senkins will fit in there.
It's like thinner lavaliers, and it's got 2 slots. If you want to do 2 lavs for redundancy, probably wouldn't in this case, but yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to give you the absolute secret to great sound. Get that mic as close as possible to that sound bubble right there. You know, you'll have a boom. So about half of you use a boom, right? So you're doing 2 channels. So it's always, boom's in the shot, can you raise it? Boom's in the shot, can you raise it? Boom's in the shot. Now, here's a little visual here. I don't know if you can see this. But here's a flashlight, right? Can you guys see from that side? So there's a flashlight. The closer I get to the flashlight, that little bright area, that's your voice. The surrounding area is the ambient noise that it's picking up. Now that's very close to the talent. Now you start pulling that away, that gets quieter, and that ambient noise gets louder. So you want it as close as possible. You don't want to pick up all the ambient noise around you as the voice gets lower.
And it really kind of stems from one of the common misconceptions about shotgun mics, is that they zoom in on a sound when actually they're just rejecting stuff coming from the sides and the back. It's not really like, if you point it from over here and they're 10 feet away, it's going to sound like they're 10 feet away, not like they're right up close. So get the shotgun mic in as close as possible, like Frank was saying.
And one of the secrets, there's a great sound guy who's done a lot of major motion pictures. His name is Senator Mike Michaels. And he has a video on YouTube, which I love. And he is talking about where the boom needs to go. So everybody know the hang loose sign? You take that, you put that right in the middle of your forehead. There, that's the closest the boom should ever be. This is the farthest away the boom should ever be. So, I mean, that's not much distance right there. And what's great about camera lenses is they kind of have this diamond kind of shape, you know, as they go out, they go like this. So when you've got your boom, I can actually put a boom right there, and it looks like it's in the middle of his forehead, but the camera won't see it. Can the camera see that right now? No. So you just keep going. Do you see it now? Do you see it now? Do you see it? See how far into his face it looks like? And the camera does not see that. It's just starting to see it there. So you can, you take a little bit of white tape and put it just around the end of your boom mic so that if you've got a black background, whatever, you can actually see where the boom is. And you ask your cameraman, okay, is boom in the shot, boom in the shot, boom in the shot? There. Up just a bit, up a bit, up a bit, right there. So what I'm doing is I'm not over his head. I'm out probably, what, about a foot? About a foot from him, and I'm angling the mic that way.
Yes.
How effective is it to come up from underneath with the boom mic? Because just on a 48 that I did, there was a lot of that. They were having me hold the boom mic up underneath the actor. Is that another alternative?
Yes.
Or is that a less effective alternative?
Okay, he's not getting that on the mic. So they were asking what's the difference between booming from above and booming from below. It really depends on where the ambient noise is coming from. If you've got a bunch of noise, birds up there tweeting in a tree, you're going to want to come down here. This is actually, you know, if you've got a close-up, this is actually a wonderful spot to put the boom. Because remember that bubble?
Yeah.
It's right there. Here we go.
And a
Yeah, air conditioning.
And ceilings can make it more reflective of sound.
yes.
Any,
So if you got a lower ceiling, probably not a good idea to boom from underneath.
yeah,
but
look for those hard surfaces.
A good practice when like you're finding the frame line is once you do find the frame line, like say it's right there, like look out towards like the far wall. I'm using the top of that window, and I can't go below that window, otherwise I'll be in the shot. Having a reference point in your peripheral vision really helps to not be in frame, or do you want that back?
And one of the things that's happening now, a lot of the cameras can shoot 8K. So people are going, yeah, just shoot it wide and we'll push it on post. Well, if you look at major motion pictures, they'll establish a shot, a wide shot or a medium shot. And then they'll wait until they go to the close-up for the dialogue to start. And as the shot gets wider, they don't give you more headroom. They give you more room at the bottom of the actor. So there's always that headroom up there so you can get that boom in close and get the dialogue. And most of your dialogue should come in close-ups anyway. A trick, and I'm sure you guys know this or do this, get your dialogue, and say you're in a crowd scene, you're in a crowded restaurant or something, have everybody pantomime. Don't do any sound at all. And then, once you've got your dialogue down, then have them do the murmur, 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 murmur in the background. And then your editors can mix that in later.
And if they were in like say it was a crowded bar and they're trying to talk over it, if everyone's pantomiming in the background, you gotta maybe have your actors say, act like you're talking over a crowd. So maybe speak up a bit as though you were trying to be heard over all the walla that's gonna be added in later.
So, okay, we did location, we did boom mics, we've done lavalier mics, ADR.
Hey Frank, before you get away,
Yes.
can we talk about like when you're recording just from a boom, keeping one track a little bit less than the other tracks?
Oh, yeah. Excellent point Mike brought up. You're using a boom. It's only one channel. You are going between two different actors. Sometimes one actor may be a little bit louder than the other and will just push you into that limiter space, which you don't. But when you're setting your camera mic, you put the other one like, how many dB? 6 dB? Couple.
Like, between 3 and 5 dB, the idea is to have one channel less than the other channel.
There.
We're filming this.
Talking to my chest.
If you have that one channel from that boom, or that one piece of audio from that boom going to 2 channels, make sure that one channel is about 5 dB less than the other. That way, when your actor gets really loud and everything comes up, this may clip. This will save your bacon, right? Because that one's a little bit less than this one. If you're recording in, like on some of the older Zooms that only record in stereo, just pan it off to one side. That'll keep the other side a little bit lower. That's it.
And then talking about saving your bacon, this is a suggestion. I always try and get the best sound that I possibly can first take. But for people who aren't used to doing sound all the time, why don't you get your scene? You're like in take number 4, and you get your scene, and that's perfect. Have the actors do the scene one more time, but put the boom right in the shot. Have them redo it. Same emotion, but have that boom right there so that you get that really clean dialogue. You may never use it, but there may be that one time when they've gotten too loud, or I don't know for what reason you would use it, but it's there as a safety. So.
And that can also work for dialogue as well as maybe sound effects. Say in one scene, the character slaps the other character. Then when that scene's over, maybe just have them record the slap a couple times into the mic so they have something to work with in post if it didn't work out too well the first time.
Yeah. And things like door slams on a car or something, that's a great thing. Actors have done their thing. Go record that afterwards. May not use it, but it may just save you. So, question?
Yeah, I have a question, because I know nothing about sound. I'm trying to learn more and more. If a team is, say, using, like, we use trash cams sometimes, like a little recorder, what is the maximum dB you should see on, like, where would you set that to get okay sound? Like, if you don't have all this super fancy equipment, you're not using, if you're using like a location sound.
I've always heard that you try and get as close to 0 as possible without going, you can go over a little bit, but don't slam it. I've got to look at my mixer here for a second. Here. Yeah, thank you.
So for this situation where we're shooting for dialogue average at -12, I would record on location between -20 and -18. What that does is that allows you to have a lot of headroom. So if somebody claps, if a chair falls over, if somebody gets loud, it's not going to go past 0 and clip. Because remember, we're in a digital world. When we hit 0, that's it. You go past 0, I can't even save you in the edit without some very, very expensive tools. So if you record between -18, -20, because our spec is average -12, right? So here's -18, -20, -12. I don't have to bring it up a whole lot to get to that -12. And it gives you a ton of headroom to play with on location. So for this spec, I would shoot for -18, -20 while you're recording. But that's just for this spec, okay? What's that? Correct, that's average, that's not peak. That doesn't mean that you can't go past -20, right? You can go all the way to 0, and I'm happy as an editor. But if you're averaging at -18, -20, then you have from there to 0 to play with. right? And it allows you, that's great for an on-location guy or gal, because you have all of that extra headroom to play with, right? Does that make sense to everyone?
And my mixer, I was just looking at it, probably has a different scale than is on the editing, because looking at it here, I usually average at 0, and I peak at +8.
Yeah. It's,
But that's
so
on my mixer.
that's on the nicer
Yeah.
ones. But like on the, say like the Tascams or the Zooms, it's good to have the spec that Mike was talking about because
go.
they have, whereas Franks have analog limiters, so it's before it would distort. Most of the Zooms and Tascams, the digital limiter is after the preamp. So what it does is it distorts, but it still kind of limits it, but it's not as good. So definitely good to have that headroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about if you have a low pass filter built into your microphone? Do you use that?
A low pass filter built into the mic.
Yeah.
That's good for eliminating, say, like AC because they're usually around 60 or 80 hertz. But also, like a Tascam or a Zoom also has the variable low pass, so you could go lower or higher. You just really have to listen for it.
Great for wind as well. Low pass filter is great for wind.
Yes.
Do you guys know about line level, mic level? When you're putting going directly into the camera, your most important tool are your headphones. Whoever is on camera should have headphones. It's the hardest thing to get a cameraman to wear them. But
You've been working with Billboard.
yeah. But a lot of time we're going wireless to the camera, and if I'm umbilical, I'm listening to return from the camera. I'm not listening to what's coming through my mixer. The reason is a couple of times when I first started doing sound, I got caught between mic and line. Line is a much stronger signal and will totally distort. Look like your meters are just absolutely perfect, but then you get it into editing and sounds terrible. Mic level, most cameras take, the lower end cameras, higher end take the line levels.
And a lot of the times, if a camera will take either mic or line, sometimes it'll have a 1/4 inch for the line or XLR for the mic input.
And there's usually a switch there that you can do between line and mic. But listen to it, test it out, make sure it sounds clean. Question?
If your mic has a built-in down power, like a AA battery, do you recommend using that over the power mic?
Yeah, I have mics that use batteries, and I keep the batteries in all the time, whether I'm using Phantom or not. Does that work? Okay.
And another, since Mike brought up wind, is wind protection on your mics. So like this windsock is good for maybe a light breeze, but also it's good to have these on when you're indoors in case like a fan blows some air towards the mic or the AC does. When you go outside, you're gonna want something a little more heavy duty if it's more than a light breeze. So I don't know if you want.
Yeah, this is a Rycote. And there are different types. You've got what I refer to as the fuzzy squirrel, you know, the hair right there.
And then if there's a lot of wind.
And if you're a sound guy, everybody goes, oh, wow, that's great. Everybody, it doesn't matter. Dogs love it too. Dogs love it too.
This one came with a brush.
But with that, what happens is the wind hits the hairs and just diverts it every which way so it doesn't hit the element directly. Same thing here. This is a foam that's been created by Rycote called 3D Text, and it does the same thing. Just breaks up the wind, won't get to the mic. I saw a great 48-hour film a couple of years ago, and they were out in the desert. Story was good, everything, but it drove me crazy because the wind was just hitting the mic element the whole time. So Yes, sir.
You mentioned gathering room tone.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Room tone.
When an editor is editing dialogue together, and you have one really good take here and one really good take here, but they need a little bit of space in between. If you do not have room tone, it goes and then all of a sudden everything drops out and then it comes back in. If you do 30 seconds of room tone either before or after a take, you get the fan noise, you get the air conditioning noise, you get the little ambiance of the room. So that when the editor edits that little extra space in between the words, he can just put that ambience in there and you will never notice that there's an edit.
You touched on mic placement, and probably everyone here knows, but can you talk about different ways to hold the mic so you're not creating a lot of like movement, sound, and stuff like that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Tim's a much better boomer than I am.
So most of the time, like since this can tilt, you're gonna wanna usually go in overhead, and a good thing to do is like put it in the crook between your thumb and your index finger. And then say you're like going between two characters, just kind of rock it back and forth, because the boom's really gonna pick up if you're moving along or bumping into it or anything, and that's gonna be really hard to remove later.
And if you say have a character over the other side of the room, hold your boom like this and move your body in. Don't do this, because that will make noise. That will definitely make noise. Let's see.
There's a question in the back.
Is,
Boom up always has headphones on so they can hear it.
yes, yes.
Definitely have your boom up wear headphones so they can hear if they're sliding along or bumping. Yes.
Recently had a problem with a lot of staff. Is that mainly because the equipment?
The first thing I would do is check cables. You know, they always say start at one end of your system and go step by step to the other end. So if you think it's a cable, eliminate the cable. If that doesn't work, then go to the next step and next step.
Were you wired or wired? Wired.
Yeah.
Does it depend on running, how they hold it, the angle of the boom?
That could even be,
Will you hit the tap 0 on your meter? Because that could be flipping.
Oh, okay, I wasn't on the sound.
Yeah, if it goes past 0, it'll kind of sound like static. It'll get this kind of sound in it. That's clipping. That's going past 0,
Yeah.
and the digital signal can fall apart. And that's when you're screwed. You can't really fix that. So that's bringing the level back.
And your sound man has to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. If there's a problem with sound, he can't be timid and go, I think I heard something. It's like, cut. Yeah, that's the great thing about being a sound guy. You're the only other person besides the director that can yell cut. But you go, cut, I hear sirens in the background, that's gonna ruin the take. But you have to be very, very careful and very discretionary in using that power.
otherwise
Because-
your director will get very angry with you.
Not only that, everybody in the room starts to do audio. So you know, it's kind of like, Bob, I think that, wait a minute, I think I heard something. Because I just act. All right, using this flashlight analogy, this is one of my pet peeves. Imagine you're trying to light your set, and everybody in the room has flashlights, and they're opening doors and letting in the sunlight, and there's flashlights going everywhere, and then all of a sudden the director says, okay, roll them. Everybody turns the flashlights off, closes the door, and you're supposed to go. Well, that's how people treat sound, because everyone's moving around, everybody's setting lights, everybody's talking, and then sound is expected to have their levels absolutely perfect and everything. Please, for your sound guys, especially if you have a boom operator, do a rehearsal before you decide to roll tape. Because a boom operator, if you've got actors and they're moving, He has to know the dance. He has to know where they're moving, how they're moving. You know, you can get confused. So your boom guy needs to know. The boom guy is also worrying about where the lights are. I mean, is there a shadow coming off over his face there? Is there,
there a shadow
is
on the
he
wall?
going to be in the way as an actor moves out? That type of thing. So please give your sound people a chance to set levels and to learn, your boom ops should know the script. And improvisation is great. Robin Williams was the greatest improviser in the world, but they always got a clean take with the scripted audio first before he did any improvisation. That way the editor has something to go to. Especially improvisation for actors, one decides to talk and the boom's not quite in the right area, so.
All right. Is there any other questions?
We bring all this up and do Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
And then Darren, or Dwayne and Robin have some stuff as well.
All right, let's share some mics here.
So
Testing.
the story that I can give you on location audio that I think sums it up the best is I was working on a corporate piece, interviewing some individuals for Scripps Healthcare, and we were on the backside of Scripps Green Hospital, which is right there overlooking the golf course. And there's airplanes that fly up and down the coast all day long, just for sightseeing. And we were having lots of airplanes coming through, and especially on this one interview, and asked the question, the interview subject gave a really great answer, and in the middle of the answer, I hear the airplane going by. And I looked over at the sound guy after that question, and I said, well, how was it with that airplane? And he just looked at me and went, be better without it. And I just looked at him and went, yeah, you're right, and asked the question again. So if you're a sound guy or gal, you have such a thankless job, because you're the one that always has to deliver the bad news, that the airplane flew through, or somebody was unloading a pallet, or whatever. But from an editor's standpoint, take that time on set to tell the director there's an audio issue in this, right? The director can then make the decision whether or not they want to go with it for time reasons, or whether they want to reshoot another take. But at least have that option for those of us in post.
And one of the good points is, if you do have a take where there's like a noise, but the actor is just killing it. I mean, he's absolutely wonderful. You don't want to stop him and go, wait a minute, I heard a noise. Because everybody will kill you.
Yeah.
So, one, pick your battles, but two, something like that, let it go through to the end of the take, and then tell the director, at this point, there was a problem, you may want to redo it, and he may go, no, that was it. We'll live with it.
Or
So-
she may go.
She, sorry. I'm used to the red hat, so.
For those of you who don't know, that's Mike Brudemeyer. So any other questions, either on the post side or location side? Walter?
Location sound.
Yes.
You were talking about the moleskin, and you went over briefly how the moleskin, the mic, and the shirt. You want to go into a little bit of detail about where the mic is positioned behind that moleskin? Is it along the top edge, completely squished over the top, and you expect the sound to come through the shirt? A little bit more detail, and I think it could help.
oh, you got you.
Oh, well, here, you talk about it, and I'll demonstrate.
Okay.
So, just to let you know, these are Dr. Scholl's bunion pads. I showed you those before. Same thing as moleskin.
So basically what you want to do is you want to get it to the point where it's not covering the capsule, but just on the edge of it. Stick the moleskin to it, and then stick it wherever you're going. If you're going like between the buttons, or if you're going under the shirt or under the collar.
So, I myself will actually take the mic capsule and put it within the bunion pad or the moleskin. Kind of protects it from behind. Then when I put it in the shirt, It's hard for me to get it up here, but it's like right there is normally where I'll put it, in between the buttons. Press it in. Now you can't see it, but it's right there. This works great with polo shirts, men's shirts. Does not work with women's blouses unless it's, you know, a good material. Some of the materials are just so flimsy and thin. Some things you can do, if you have a mic clip, you can actually, oh, thank you. Let's see if this works. Oh, just a little bit too large. But if you have a clip, you can actually clip it to the inside and have the mic head stick out just a little bit. Vampire clips are great. Those are the two little needles. On a woman, I'll ask them to put it right directly on the strap of the bra. I call that the Valley of Sound.
It's a beautiful place. I'm telling you, for audio, it's a beautiful place.
It is. I mean, it's like this channel that just directs the sound right into the microphone. So it's great. Men have the same, little indent right in the chest. You can actually, Tim and I were discussing this about heartbeats. If you put a mic on somebody's chest, when we were doing coverage, which was a 48-hour film, I was picking up Annie's heartbeat. But it actually worked for the scene. Mm-hmm. But normally you don't want that. So you can take 2 or 3 layers.
Stop for 1 second, change your battery out,
Change battery out.
and you're on.
So what was I talking about before? The battery change?
The hills in the water.
Oh, yeah. So you can take 3 or 4 pieces of moleskin and stick it on the person's chest, then do the mic with a piece of moleskin over it. And that way you're separating it from the chest noises, but it's still hidden underneath. But you're still having the problems with, mic rustle. So this is the capsule at the very top. That's what produces the sound. If you can protect that mic, the capsule, separate it from the shirt somehow, that's where the sound is. And a lot of us, I mean, I still do it to this day. You're in a big hurry, you have to interview somebody, you put the mic on, and then you wrap the cable around the transmitter. Now, it's tight. It is really tight there. And they tuck their shirt in, and it becomes even tighter. So now you've got this kind of twangy violin string or whatever that if it gets caught or if it gets hit or something, it will transfer that sound right to the element. So what you want to do is create like a loop. It's called a service loop. So you put the mic there and then tape the service loop somewhere else on the shirt, and that will prevent, it being pulled. Because one of the worst things is having vampire clips and this, and then all of a sudden you look and there's the mic, it's hanging out of their, out of their shirt because they bent over and it popped out.
Other questions? In the very, very back.
In regards to recording with wireless, you guys mentioned that you do that. I haven't worked with wireless on location sound, but in live sound I have. And usually at least Sennheiser, they have sensitivity levels. Do you guys, what sensitivity level would you set it at?
It really depends on the actor, to be honest, because certain actors, they'll need like the lower sensitivity if they're blaring all the time. But like this one, it has a couple of different settings. Like it can notch, it starts at 0 dB and you can add 10 dB or add 20 dB. And it just depends on the actor and how. My starting point's usually the 0 dB. And then if I need to gain it up before the preamp, then I'll do it on the transmitter. Or the receiver, if it's coming in too hot, the receiver has a notch where it goes -10 or -20 from 0.
The only thing I would add to that is I would say get it as low as you can, because the more sensitive that mic is, the more background noise it's going to pull into it. So if you can get the actor to project more so that you don't have to bring everything up, you'll get more nice, sweet voice and less room problems.
That's the job of the actor.
And that was another question, or another thought I had, is when you're using some cameras that have auto gain on them, turn it off. Turn it off, because what will happen is somebody will be loud and they're talking, and then all of a sudden they stop talking and all the background noise just goes straight up. And so when I set levels on a camera, I turn off auto gain. I make sure that everything is in a line level for myself, and then I set the gain manually.
And sometimes that auto gain will be called AGC, for automatic gain control. Turn that off. Because what it's trying to do all the time is keep the sound level constant, but it's a robot, it's not that smart. So like Frank said, when the actor stops talking and everything gets silent, it starts jacking it up because it's trying to keep it at the same level. And then that brings all of the room noise up. And then a lot of times what happens is the first note out of your talent's mouth, which is usually, like we discussed earlier, the loudest one, what happens is that first piece of audio gets clipped because it overpeaks over 0 before that AGC could bring it back down. AGC's bad. Get rid of them. They're robots that don't think very well.
Do you have any suggestions for doing like theater or like a large group or a concert where you're not doing like one individual voice?
The more mics you have in that room, the better. If there was a singing group here, I would try to have at least 3 mics, one center, one on either side. And I would be recording separate tracks so that they can be mixed down later. Anyone else?
Nope. Because I don't do big rooms full of people. I do more post. We should probably, at this point, bring Robin and Dwayne up because we're hitting noon o'clock. And I'm sure your brains are getting full. Christine, you have anything else to add? I don't want all the dudes to run away.